Okay. I think maybe everything should be fixed. Should be awesome. So I just got off the phone with my ISP, and that took a long time. But everything is looking decent. No drop frames so far. Okay, guys. So I had some issues with my router. It looks like they found out that there was a firmware update. So hopefully that solved the issue. And let's see. Yeah, anyways, hopefully that solved the issue and we won't have any problems going forward. Now, because of that, I won't be able to be live as long as I would like to, but I'd like to talk about a lot of these changes and leaks that we've seen on Wowhead today. Bring Let's get this open. Yeah, lots of stuff to look at here in terms of the rune system, which I'm a little worried about, to be honest. So obviously in this screenshot, we were able to see that there's going to be a rune slot for waste, essentially. But when you look at stuff that was data mined, I get worried with this stuff, guys. The I don't know. This is way too much. What are they doing? Retail? Yeah, I'm worried about too many rune slots for everything except neck, ring, and trinket. You think? Yeah, I know. And it's exciting to see changes in Classic, right? I think everyone's excited about that. And I understand that Season of Discovery is a way for them to test things. However, trying to balance for all of this with all the different with 9 classes, I do get worried with how the game is going to just be like all these different players playing with so many different runes, crazy amount of new abilities, and just going very far away from kind of what Classic feels like. It's going to be a mess. Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. I just think I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm worried. I've been very positive up till now, and I still am. I still want to be positive about everything, but some of this stuff kind of worries me with going too far away from what like everyone loves about Classic, you know. Might just be passives for some slots instead of button bloat. Yeah, Dan, if it's like that, I'm a little more willing to see kind of what they do, even treating it more of like enchantments, or like you're saying passive, or even just like, I know sometimes like when we look at inscription in the game, there were different like scribes could put different inscriptions on character to change like travel form to look a certain way. I'm somewhat okay with that. I don't really think it fits in with classic, but I'd rather see that than just like crazy amount of new abilities. I'm a little worried about that. We had the same side that I just hit. Yeah. Looks like Paladin might get a battle res or an onk. Could be that each class gets a different slot. Oh, you're saying like rogues get waste. Well, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, technically there's 9, but we already know about hands and runes. I don't know how that would work. A lot of new abilities is good, even if it drastically changes the gameplay. Vanilla is amazing in almost everything, but gameplay has always been the weakness for the game. Yeah, but I also think that there's a difference between making the game have some changes and kind of that classic plus feel. Whereas right now, if you wanted to, you could go and play in Wrath. You could play Wrath servers and go back to the classic content, but it doesn't really feel like classic, right? Because the Wrath changes made it feel like Wrath, like the talent trees and all that kind of stuff. So I think players are worried about classic not feeling like classic anymore, and they are worried that it feels more like um a new game altogether. So I don't know. I don't think we should assume that every room will be an active spell. They seem like they have some decent ideas so far. They seem passionate about the spirit of classic. Maybe naive. We'll see. No, I don't think you're naive, Rob. I agree. I think the like Agrand has been really good at communicating so far, and I think there's a lot of people on the classic team that really love the game. I just so far, right? The community has been good at discussing things, and then also the developers have been good at addressing things. So like pretty much right away, people were really concerned about Alliance side getting Wind Fury and Horde side not getting like Kings or Salvation or whatever. And then pretty much right away we see Agron coming out and saying, no, we have plans to do Kings for Horde side. That level of transparency and communication is really good and kind of puts people's minds at ease. So I guess with all the stuff leaking, I'm not really trying to complain about things. I'm just trying to bring things to light and kind of discuss them, because I think in that discussion, if any devs see stuff on the classic WoW subreddit or on the forums, they can kind of take that in stride and see stuff and maybe be like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that, or they might have a point, or that's something good to be addressed. So I'm not trying to complain just to complain. I'm trying to just discuss these things with you guys and kind of see what's how everyone feels about it. I'm very excited about all the buffs. Talk about that, but with all the runes and also really excited about the idols. Idols seem awesome. More so than anything right now for me is I'm just scared about things getting a little too chaotic. Yeah, I thought they'd do 5 rune slots at most. I think that 9 would be hard to balance. If it wasn't, yeah, like T-Mog or spells. Yeah, like if it's a little bit more passives, I would be less upset. And I'm not really like upset. I'm more intrigued at the way that they're going about this and like what their plans are. Because, for example, it's easy to complain. It's really easy to complain about things without seeing the finished picture. So there could be employees at Blizzard right now that are like, man, if only they knew what our plans were, or oh, just they need to just wait and see. So I totally get that. I'm just saying that I hope these things are a lot more a lot more passive in what they do, but there's new idols. Yeah, it looks like there's going to be some new idols, paladin librams, and shaman totems. I don't know why they're called icons. Shaman icons. Assume shaman totems. I don't really know what an icon is, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see with this stuff. I think this stuff looks cool. I bet some of this stuff will be through PvP and others will maybe be through some raids. Like all classes get the 3 chests, hands, legs, and then depending on your class, you have 2 different slots. We would break it into armor class. Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Or for example, like on the boots, on the boot slot, you had, you know, you did molten core, and there's a boot slot that gives you like some little, you know, lava footprints from behind you after you kill Ragnaros, something like that, where it's like just a aesthetic thing that kind of you can show some cool stuff off with your character. I wouldn't mind that as much. I just don't want to see like tons and tons of new abilities and stuff where it's like before with the 3 rune slots. If they added in a ton of new abilities, then it's okay because you only can have 3 active at one time, so it's a little bit easier to balance around, right? But if you have 9 rune slots on your character and you know all of those are actual abilities and you have 9 new abilities, that's a huge amount of balance issues, so we'll have to see. From what I've seen, a lot of runes are retail-y in the worst way. Chances to reset major abilities, which I don't like in general, but it's still better than 1 button rotation of Classic. Spirit of Classic is more about the difficulty of everyday mobs. Slow pace on travel and leveling professions have a major impact. I don't think the gameplay has a major role. Yeah, I think it's more about like pacing and about how everything feels. Like I was thinking about this the other day when I was in Nax. It's like I'm sitting in Nax and I'm just like spamming chain heals, right? It's not really like riveting gameplay. Would I like for that to be changed a little bit? Sure. I'd love to be able to have like healing rain that I can put down on the ground or some different like, you know, ways to play the game a little bit where I'm actually having to put some thought into my class. Totally like that, right? Excited for those kind of changes. However, I just want it to still feel like Classic, which obviously I feel is a little bit challenging to get both of those things accomplished, but we'll see. Yeah, and beyond the librams and totems and icons and stuff and idols, there's not much information. These are just more of like the names of things right now, but there's a lot of stuff with buffs that we'll talk about. You're hoping for a weapon slot. Oh, that was like a pool for all classes to pick from. Druid is going to be incredible. Yeah, there's some pretty nice Druid idols that we can take a peek at here in a minute. Was there a mistake by Blizzard getting data mined about these stuff and plans, or did they knew the PTR would get mined? I don't really know. It's hard to say. It's like, was it a choice that they kind of made to do this stuff to get it out and kind of see what players thought of it? Maybe. Who knows? Okay, so when we look at these buffs, it looks like, for example, Battlefield Genius. When allies are within 40 yards of the Priestess of the Moon, they gain 100% increased health and 50% increased damage. These values are increased by the number of living keeper of the grove in the Priestess's army. So it's, again, kind of like, sounds like a little bit like you see in AV where you get those buffs after killing Belinda. but also it's kind of in the sense of keeping, sounds like, people in the army alive. Gives you kind of like these modified damage and health stuff. So all interesting. We'll have to see how the Ashenvale stuff plays out. And then I know they said there's like smaller encampments throughout the zone, and I think that's kind of where this battlefield inspiration comes from. Allies within 40 yards of a battlefield leader gain 50% increased health and 20% increased damage. So my assumption is maybe this is like, this battlefield inspiration is kind of like a 40-yard buff for players who are trying to defend a camp, and then maybe players that are trying to seize a camp are a little bit weaker. So like the defenders get a buff and the attackers have more of an uphill battle with that. That's kind of my take on things. Which this also helps with, like, if a server is more populated one side or the other and they have more people attacking an area, then the smaller defender side would be able to have a buff. That's kind of what I'm looking at with this, but I could be wrong. I'm so excited about the Ashenvale PvP, to be honest. My favorite thing about vanilla has always been world PvP. Having an open world battleground is amazing. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that this is where I've been really excited with Blizzard, is the battleground stuff, because to me it looks like one of those things where Blizzard is really trying to do more than just put in a few changes to make the player base happy. This looks like these are some thought out things. This is different than anything that they've done before in terms of in like classic WoW or even just in some of their expansions. So I think this is showing that the classic team is really trying some new stuff, which I'm excited about with Season of Discovery. And I know even a lot of people were talking about Microsoft and their acquisition of Activision. I think this kind of shows a little bit of that freedom that Microsoft said that it was going to try and be giving the different teams within Blizzard, kind of give them a little bit more reign to do what they want to do and implement things without having to constantly go to, you know, the higher ups and okay things. So the craftables look sick. Those cloth boots, man. Oh, is there even more stuff? I didn't see anything about craftables. Let's look. Mounts, new profession recipes. Man, there's so guys, this is crazy. Okay. Nice. Okay, this is exactly what I pictured, to be honest. I was kind of thinking like a white wolf, but I was thinking this one is definitely what they... So these are basically the two of the level 60 unarmored mounts that were back in the game. Wow, guys. So this actually makes a lot of sense. Pretty much exactly what I was picturing from the mounts in the game. I'm curious to see... I wonder if these are 40% speed, or if they're 60 or 100. I would be shocked if they were 100. So what do you guys think about these? That's kind of what I was expecting. I'm ready to mess around with all these powers. It'll be interesting to see what stays if we get Classic Plus after this season. Yeah, I think this is great that it sounds like, it really seems like they're testing a lot of stuff. So, hey, if we get to be little guinea pigs in Season of Discovery for them to kind of figure out what direction they want to take Classic Plus in the future, I'm all for it. Let's see, Zach. I'm all for this. I think it may move away from Classic than most want, but I think it's super promising. The level cap at 25 is brilliant. I'm a retail player who's looking forward to SOD more than anything they've said about retail. Yeah, I think it kind of helps bring the communities together a little bit too, um, because a lot of people's complaints about Classic is a little bit too, um, like, oh, I don't want to go into a raid and just spam Frostbolt. Doesn't excite me. But then the players that didn't really like Classic, they enjoyed the community aspect of Classic, and they enjoyed like um, the world of Classic. But a lot of people didn't really enjoy the gameplay of Classic. So I think some of these changes are going to kind of meet in the middle with players. They're sick. Yeah, I think. Oh, okay. The Ashenvale PvP mounts are 50% movement speed. Okay. Good to know. Being a guinea pig is something chaotic. In something chaotic is really fun too. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see just like the first few months of things. Like we're probably going to be seeing so many changes and so many things happening. Yeah, one other reason I didn't get into Classic is because 1 to 60 is such a haul. Yeah, I think this is such a smart way of doing it. 25 feels doable for the average player. And then also the average player feels like they can kind of enjoy quote unquote end game with all the sweaty tryhards as well. Like normally like a casual player who plays on the launch of Classic, it's like the uphill, travel to get to 60, and you already see people in like molten core gear. It just kind of, I don't know, demoralizing. So being able to get to 25 within a few days for the average player is really, really nice, I think. Did you see the resilience gear they're adding? Are you kidding me? Really? Resilience gear. I mean, that will definitely help with the burstiness of endgame, right? Because right now in endgame, um, you can I don't know. Endgame definitely has some issues, so we'll see. Okay. So we looked at that. Rockman dropped a screenshot in one of our discords, but I don't know if he made an article on it yet. Okay. I'm not sure if I have it open on or if I have links open. I might have to just have you DM me it. You can add me on Discord though if you want to chat. And that goes to any of you guys. If anyone wants to add me, feel free. Let's see. Your favorite WoW experience was seeing the game for the first time and doing all the quests, 20 to 30, as a group with a guild, showing me how the game worked. So slow level content could work well. Yeah, I think a lot of people's fond memories of the game are definitely around that content, just like the lower level stuff. Or I mean, like, heck, a lot of my best memories in WoW were lower level stuff too. Under Hunter it says Warlock pet scaling. Wow, if pets scale, that's amazing. Like hunters are going to be gods then. That was a huge issue. Like, think of pre-patch TBC. Think of TBC pre-patch with warlocks and hunters and their pets. So that's going to be really, really big. Okay, let's look at profession stuff. Guys, can we just pause for a second? Like, I'm actually so hyped right now. I can't. If 2 weeks ago you said any of this kind of stuff was on the horizon, I would have been like, yeah, right. You mean like a private server is coming out that's going to do this? Like, I had no expectations for this kind of stuff. I thought if they came out with a new season of Mastery, or if they came out with Classic Plus, it was going to be like, like, oh, we've changed some of your talents in your talent tree, and bosses in Blackwing Lair are going to hit a little harder, and like the PvP gear is going to have the ability to have some more stats on it. Something like that, where it's like changes, but not to this level. Like, this is actually insane how much they're looking at doing. Hype level 1000. Yeah, I know. This is crazy. What I love the most about Vanilla seems to be included in Vanilla Plus, and what I dislike most will be fixed. Yeah, I'm interested. And like, that's the thing, guys. It could be one of those things where we end up kind of hating it, right? Like, I know that sounds crazy, but it could be. It could be like way overdone, way too many changes. But the thing is, it's a seasonal server, right? So I truly think they're going to take the best of the things from this server and go forward with it. So I think it was a great idea for them to do it this way. Now, while I say we could hate it, my assumption is most people are actually going to be pleasantly surprised, and that it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm just excited that they're doing a lot of stuff. You're looking forward to what they can do with the season after? Yeah, I know. Works that way, or the way they want it to. They can just restart the server with even more content, add level caps, like another level 25 10-man raid. Exactly, like they can use different dungeons to make new raids, all that kind of stuff. I think the nice thing about the seasonal stuff is everyone's starting back at like the same spot. Okay, here, let's see. Okay, this is the resilient stuff from Nick Berry. Thank you so much, man. Reduces all damage taken and chance to be critically hit by 5% in Warsong Gulch. Charge level 20. Interesting. It's weird that there's no other stats on it though, right? Like, this is good. Maybe this is just some very early stuff, but no armor class, right? Yeah, it's kind of picked up. Unique head. Interesting. They also might not have armor, or I mean stats on this, just because not many people have, like, you don't really have many options at 20 for helms. So maybe like a chest piece would have some stuff on it, but this is cool. I wonder if it's one of the the rep rewards. Okay. So, new alchemy thing found. Allows the imbiber to speak with the corpse of an individual with unfinished business in the mortal world. So this might have, I'm guessing this is going to be something needed to probably finish up a rune, would be my assumption. Let's see. Blacksmithing. Oh my gosh. What? An epic void touch chest. Unique equipped void touched. Okay, so I'm seeing something here, guys. So let me know what you think about this. So if we look at the gear here, not this, if we look at this, it says Void Pearl, and you can only have one of these Void Pearls. So with this piece, it looks like there probably is going to be multiple void touched items, and you can only have one of them equipped. So that is cool. This item is infused with the raw power of the void. When the bearer is attacked, this item has a high chance of inflicting a terrible curse, causing the attacker to take additional damage from all sources for 15 seconds. 25% proc chance. Okay. So this might be something that you actually want a tank to wear, just because it will cause one of the bosses to be able to take increased damage. And it also might, honestly, looking at this, you might have to craft this item for a player to actually use on an encounter to beat it. Wouldn't that be cool? This is the kind of stuff that I love in Classic, right? This very unique, like specific to an item, equip chance or proc chance or this, that, or the other thing. This is the stuff that I love to see. So again, big props to them on doing stuff like this. Looks like they're going to have another sharpening stone for maybe hit chance. Cool. No effect outside of BFD. All right, interesting. It would have been kind of cool to see it have an effect outside BFD so you could solo higher level mobs, but I understand they don't want you to be able to use this at the later level caps. Speak with the Dead, you can watch HC deaths in the area. The highest rank is capped at 25. Oh, sorry, I'm behind on some comments, guys. I think they're just working through the random stuff they data mined before posting it up. Rockman posted it in the WSG disk. Okay. So it's just kind of like some mock-up stuff. So hyped. I think PvP is going to be so fun. Yeah, that's like pretty much the thing I'm the most excited about. I actually think raiding and like PvE stuff is going to be awesome too. But the PvP stuff is just like on a different level right now. I think I think seeing the mock Garage stuff probably really showed Blizzard just how much, like, even people who aren't like competitive PvPers or people who are, you know, obsessed with PvP, they still love to see this kind of stuff, and having it in the game is really, really nice. PvP rank will be capped at 25. Yeah, I think like in the past you could only get to rank 3. You could only get sergeant at level 29, so it'll be interesting to see if they at least increase it a little bit from there, or if sergeant's the highest you'll be able to get. Rank 3 max. Yeah, Wrath BGs are so dead. Yeah, need more reasons to go and keep blacksmithing. Yeah, I know, true. That's the thing. I was working on putting together a video today, and I was talking about the different professions. And I'm kind of glad I didn't put the video out, because I actually was talking about how I think blacksmithing wouldn't be a very good moneymaker, but with these hit sharpening stones, that's going to be big. How are they so dead? I do BGs all day, every day when I play. I think Threshold was probably just talking about like on launch of. I think in general on launch of SOD, most servers on Classic Era or Wrath and stuff like that are going to be pretty quiet, just because it's new stuff for people to do. Doesn't seem like many incentives to do PvP in Wrath. Yeah, I think that's a lot of the stuff in PvP though is really all you're doing it is for the incentives. Maybe someone does them for achievements, but sadly a lot of people don't do things for fun. I mean, you see that in Classic Era right now. Everyone's just doing AV because it's the fastest honor per hour. That came out more hostile than I intended, my bad. Okay, let's keep looking. So enchanting. Okay, I was talking about oils. Increase mana regen and spell hit. Restores 12 MP5. Wow, that's actually an insane amount of MP5. This is crazy MP5. For example, we were looking at earlier. I was looking raw sagefish. I was making a video about things to farm, and I was going to include smoked sagefish, and this is 3 MP5. So 12 MP5 is crazy. Crazy. Find where I was. Okay, engineering. Salvage the wreckage of a shredder for spare parts. Okay. Do you guys know what this means? Okay, so in the unnerfed version of AV back in the day, there were shredder suits that you could get on. You could get on these shredder suits in AV, and you were like a walking goblin shredder, and you could do like AoE damage, and you were really strong, and they were tons of fun, and like allies could heal them. So back in the day, on Northdale on the private server, I would have a friend get in the shredder, and then I would stand way in the back as a druid and heal them as they went around and killed players in AV, and it was so much fun. This kind of sounds to me like there will be shredders in Ashenvale, right? So I really believe that these shredders in Ashenvale, there's a good chance that they will have some use within the battleground. Again, who knows? I could be wrong, but I doubt they would just add this item to something so trivial as just being able to do something to a gameplay mechanic that hasn't really had any use for a long time. You know what I mean? Like just a shredder that's out in the world. It doesn't really seem like this is what that's for. I bet it's for shredders in Ashenvale. Copper modulators, here we come. Or song Lumber Camp has them. Yeah, exactly. So there's stuff in Ashenvale that I think they're probably going to use that logging camp and have some way of using the shredders. All right, leatherworking. Okay. So some hit chance items. So descend into madness, increasing spell damage by 10%, as well as increasing threat you generate for 10 seconds. Okay, so this would be very, very good for, well, let's see, it's leather. So you're looking at Shaman Tank, increasing spell damage by 10%, as well as increasing threat you generate for 10 seconds. And then obviously you could use this in a PvP situation and not worry about the threat. But you could possibly use this for Shaman tanking, or you could also just use this outside of PvE. Boomkin, Shaman. Stuff. Descend into madness, increasing attack speed by 10%. Okay. Don't like purples at 25. I think it's exciting personally, but I understand. I understand what you're saying. Should be harder to get. Yeah, I would have liked to see. Now, we don't know what goes into making these, right? So you might need to have like a, I don't know, they're called void touch. So maybe you need some kind of void sphere from the like think of in BFD, the second to last boss is the orc warlock guy. So I'm assuming that it's farther into the dungeon where you're able to either pick up these recipes or craft them. So they might be hard to make, giving them kind of a reason for them to be epic. Fair enough. I just think that purple pixels are from harder raids that take 40 people to get. Yeah, generally. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we'll have to see how it's implemented and how they kind of go about justifying the fact that they're epics. All right, the boots. Okay, this is what someone was saying, the boots are crazy. Momentarily enter another plane of existence, instantly reducing threat as well as reducing all damage taken and damage dealt by 50% for 6 seconds. So this momentarily enter another plane of existence. All right, so the question is, does this mean that it's like you're actually going invisible, or is it just going to allow you to take reduced damage? Obviously the reducing damage taken is amazing for PvP. Also has its spots in PvE, but if this acts as kind of like a invisibility, that would be insane. Partial fade, I bet. Yeah, I bet it's more of like a visual, kind of like a phase shift for imps or something, where you kind of like phase out a little bit, but you're not like you're still in the game and can still be attacked. That would make the most sense. Otherwise, this would be crazy. Sounds thematic. Yeah. Okay. Teach void armaments. Okay, so this is my guess is this kind of stuff is probably from the raid later. Okay, okay. Yeah, I feel okay, so personally, I feel that seeing this kind of stuff, it's to me kind of showing that one, Blizzard has a lot of big plans. Probably a lot of things that we don't even know about at this point, especially for even later in the game at 40 and 50. It also shows me that I think that a lot of this leak stuff probably was like not an accident at all. It just was a way for them to create a lot of hype while also kind of sussing out how people feel. If they came out and like said like, hey, this is some stuff that's going to be in the game, um, then it's kind of them admitting to it. Whereas if it's leaked stuff and then player feedback is like, this thing that was leaked is so stupid, they can kind of backpedal and be like, oh, it was just in the game files. We weren't going to do it. So I think it's the smart way of doing things. Probably to keep everyone from rolling engineering for a month. Yeah. Purple fun, or could it just be blue for you? I don't care about the color. Blue's the epic charm. I think the thing about epics, right, is if it feels epic, then I'm totally fine with them making it an epic, right? What I don't want to see is I don't want to see epics just being added for no reason. Like if these pieces are like very difficult to craft, they require like a lot of teamwork, or they require, a lot of materials, and it's more of like one or two people in your entire like raid has them. Or if you see someone with it, you're like, oh my gosh, he spent a lot of time getting that, or he's really lucky, this, that, or the other thing. I like that for epics, but I kind of am in agreement, especially at level 25. I think they should be very sparing with the epics. Like maybe there's like one or two epics, like one or two epic like weapons that drop in BFD, but I don't want to see too much stuff. Notice that there was a lot more druid runes data mined. I'm hoping it is that way on purpose, and classes with more specs rolls to get more runes. I like a sprinkle of purple myself. If all the drops of BFD are purple, that's too much. Yeah, I kind of like just be careful with how much they put in. Clothies are going to be in a good spot because you can get engineering mining to level and then go tailoring and buy a cloth at 5. True. Yeah, that is one way to do it. I think I think engineering isn't going to be like as big of a deal unless they have some different engineering recipes, but like engineering is like will still be very useful, but it's going to be very costly to use iron grenades. Uh, Iron grenades typically in WoW are always pretty cheap, but you know, iron from is from like the level 30ish plus zones. So I don't know how many people are really going to be committing to using those. I know you can use lower level grenades, but those are the first grenades that you should have available to you that you can move and use. So we'll have to see how they choose to do that. But let's look at some of the runes or the different changes, I guess. This is not just runes. I think this is also like I peeked over this, and for example, this is a change to, so I know some people had said, do you think they're going to make any changes to talents? And I personally had said I don't think so, but here you can see they changed Wyvern Sting from Survival Hunters to now be able to be used out of combat, which is awesome in my opinion, because before you wouldn't really use Wyvern Sting because it was so situational. Um, but them changing it, I'm really excited about that. That's awesome. But yeah, looking through some of the druid stuff, it looks like they've also found that maybe there's a AoE ground targeted heal that I'm reading it. Heals up to 3 friendly players or raid members within 15 yards of your target. Okay, so it's like druid chain heal. Interesting. That's crazy. Heals up to 3 friendly target or up to 3 friendly party or raid members, and it's not even okay, good thing it's not just party, it's also raid. So that is important because there's some abilities that you can only use on your party members and you can't use it raid wide, and those always suck. So 3 friendly members within 15 yards of the target. Damn. Now, if this is on a low cooldown, that's awesome. Lacerate, okay. We already knew about Lacerate, right? I don't know what. Life Bloom, same. Mangle, Savage Roar, Skull Bash, Star Surge, Sunfire, Thrash. Interesting. I hope Thrash is a stun. If Thrash is a stun, we like Thrash. Looks like Wind Fury Totem and Wind Fury Weapon imbue stack. You think so? Thrash is a AoE cat bleed in later expansions anyways. Oh, okay. So maybe it's just another recycled ability. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people have asked if Feral's going to get any kind of AoE ability, so I guess that would be your answer. I need a stun though, guys. I need a Feral stun. That's what I really want personally. Tiger's Fury increases damage done by 15% for 6 seconds. Instantly grants you 60 energy. Okay, wow. Big. This is like seems extremely strong. Like you think about rogues using ZG trinket uh, to get energy back, and you're taking up a trinket slot for that. This seems really, really strong, especially because you get 15% increased damage. Like think of shredding till you're 0 energy, and then popping this and doing a few more. Like gonna do a lot of burst. Power Shift seems dead. Tiger's Fury is crazy. Yeah, I think it depends on the cooldown of this, and then it also depends on Savage Roar, whether that stays in cat form, or like if you switch out if it leaves. Kind of like how if you sprint in cat form right now and you leave cat form, you lose sprint. Aspect of the Lion. So this is uh kings for your party, but then also it's another 10% for the hunter. So you're getting 20%. This is really nice if your hunter is melee hunter, because right now melee hunters have nothing, right? Like no offense, no offensive aspect. So, and I think this was smart to put on hunters, just like they put Wind Fury on druids, and don't put it on paladins, and don't put kings on shamans, because I think that gives them too many. Like that just strengthens the reason why you have to bring a shaman. So, I do like that. Okay, explosive shot, chimera, explosive trap. Oh, they're just changing kind of the damage coefficients on this, is probably my assumption. Frost trap. It's frost trap with the animation. I'm not familiar enough with Hunter to know exactly what changed with that. My guess is just like cooldown time, or I mean time or whatever. Your biggest concern is, or your biggest concern in SOD is how we're doing more damage and we won't have enough HP or resilience for PvP. Yeah, so we see this. Thank you to Nick Berry for linking this to me. This kind of shows you that they're trying to add some sort of damage mitigation pieces for players in PvP. We'll have to see how things go in the end, but yeah, I mean that's definitely one thing that I was a little bit worried about as a player myself, is kind of what you mentioned, is you don't want PvP to be too bursty. So Classic already has the whole, like, out of any expansion, Classic definitely is the most bursty at end game when you have gear, so that's something they're gonna have to think about. Okay, so this is what you're talking about with the Warlock pet scaling. Yeah, I mean, if pets scale, guys, Hunter is going to be like right now, Druid is my main. Shaman and Hunter are both characters that I also want to have. But if they do all this stuff with pets, then Hunter is definitely like right up there on the class that I want to play. The resilience gear is only farmed in PvP. It's back to being whacked until you get your gear. I agree, but I think they could also make it so that some of it's maybe crafted at level 60, or yeah, I don't know. But the thing I do like about this is, look, they said in Warsong Gulch, right? So I don't know how they'll do this in the later levels. I think they're doing it in Warsong Gulch right now because that's kind of what's exciting at level 25. But I would hope that you're not encouraged to. So, for example, in TBC, when you're out farming, let's say primals out in the world, it's like if you are ganking people, you know that you're going out to PvP, so you can put on your PvP gear. But those players out there that are farming, they're probably in PvE gear, so they die really easily. Kind of one of the reasons outside of like flying mounts and stuff why world PvP is kind of like dead after classic. But I just don't want players to be feeling like they have to be in PvP gear when they go out in the world. Um, I don't know. We'll see on that stuff. It's kind of hard. Wait, can hunters use traps in combat now? Those descriptions don't specify. Do they normally say traps can only be placed when out of combat? One trap can be active at a time, right? So it says, yeah, you're right. It says only one trap can be active at a time, which said before, but now it doesn't say the combat thing. And that's a TBC change. TBC, you were able to trap while in combat. That's amazing. That helps you be able to actually use your traps more for like DPS too, and also just like have some more freedom with your traps. Um, because before you would never lay down any other trap except like your freezing trap, because you have to use it in conjunction with feign death. Whereas now, you might actually use like frost trap and stuff while you're attacking someone because you don't have to just wait on cooldowns. Um, so basically, across the board with the stuff for hunters, it sounds like they're really buffing. Like survival hunters sound like um, they're gonna be really strong. Um, yeah, let's go on to mages, fire ward stuff, cross warding stuff. Increase armor. Addition gives you a 10% chance. I think this used to be 2%, right? Correct on that? Or if they've changed them already in here. Fireword. Maybe they already changed them in here. It was definitely not. It wasn't always 20, right? I don't know if these are already changed from the last time we saw them, but this might just be kind of showing them because they've said they're trying to do a lot more balancing stuff, so that might be part of all this. So let's see, talent changes for Pally. Okay, interesting. So I know someone in the in Discord was saying that they felt like Pally tanking was hard to keep threat, so that might be a big change there. 50% increased threat. with 3 points. Warlocks are going to be insane with the Master Channeler rune, in your opinion. You get some bonus healing here. Ooh, baby. But it just scales with your spell power, right? You'd still want to just be using spell power. I'm not going to spend too much time peeking at this stuff because a lot of it's just like coefficient stuff. Bloodlust? Instantly attacks with both weapons for % weapon damage, plus an additional 2 with each weapon. Damage is increased by 20% against poison targets. Awards 2 combo points. Interesting. Shaman weaks for a lot of their abilities. Okay. So it looks like a lot of just changes to baseline stuff. Name changed from Emberstorm to Emberstorm. Hold increases the damage done by your fire spells by 8. Damage done by your fire spells by 8. Okay. No idea what that's all about. Chaos Bolt. The Shaman things aren't changes. They're all overload proc versions of the spells that are 50% value and offhand weapons since they... Okay, good to know, good to know. That makes sense then. Okay, yeah. I see what you mean. Because the AP that you got used to be a lot higher. Cross weapon isn't a proc per minute spell anymore. Devastate sunders a target's armor, causing the sunder effect. Huh. Shield reflection. Raise your shield reflecting the next spell cast on you. Okay. Interesting, interesting. Perhaps it is hard to tell with that description. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I don't really know what they're getting at with a lot of these things. They're especially when I don't have the spell the original spell right next to it on the page. Okay, general abilities. So I think we know all these, right? Yeah, I think these are all just the ones that were already known. We can look at the list of new stuff too. Just wanted to see. Okay. Let's see, where is it? It's these ones, right? Yeah, so we looked at of the selected area, and then oh, that was because it was the aura of it. Okay. Um, Everbloom, your rejuvenation can now be active on targets affected by another druid's rejuvenation. I just wish this was kind of like passively in the game. It kind of sucks that you have to use a slot for this. Um, but I get it. But that's just kind of, I know like in TBC you could have multiple hots on your target, so I mean that's nice, but I just wish it didn't have to be a rune slot. I really wish they would add rated BGs, even without rewards. Pre-made versus pre-made gameplay is just so fun. Hey, I mean, like, if you've seen so far what they've been doing, who knows? Who knows? They definitely could have that added in. Can Priest dispel these world buffs? I don't think so. I know they kind of had initial or had said that dispelling world buffs was never really like an intended thing. I'd love to see a mage table rune and a soul will rune. Yeah, I mean that's when you get to the slippery slope though, right, Zach? It's like part of the class fantasy of mages in like, it's trading, it's getting tipped for water in capital cities, it's getting tipped for summons places, it's getting tipped for portals, hunters getting tipped for Dire Maul tribute clears. I get the niceties of having a mage table, but I feel like sometimes like when you start doing those things, there's like unintended consequences with it, if that makes sense. Druid evasion, nice. Yeah, I have a feeling that this one right here, increase your dodge chance by 10%, and you regenerate 3 rage every time you dodge in bear form and dire bear form, 10 energy while in cat, and 1% of your maximum mana while in any other form. I don't think this is really going to be I think this might honestly be a passive, and I know you're saying that's an insane passive, but I or if it does have a cooldown, it's going to be short. I feel like this is almost like a choice between taking this or your survival instincts, or survival of the fittest. This one right here. So reduces the chance you'll be critically hit by melee attacks by 6% and reduces all damage taken by 10%. Damage reduced by additional 10%. So I think that 10% dodge doesn't seem high enough to be a passive. I mean, you already have. Where am I? What am I trying to? You already have pretty good passive dodge in like cat form. So who knows? I'm not sure. Renewal, instantly heal yourself for 30% maximum health. I like this. This looks kind of like a mini NS. And the nice thing about this is it allows for a little bit more flexibility with gameplay. Like you don't feel so hurt not picking up NS from your talents. So that's cool. Oh, to not be a passive, right? The thing that I am looking at too, though, is like this for being a passive seems crazy though. 10% energy while in cat form. Anytime you dodge, that seems like really, really broken. But maybe that's kind of their look at changing, like I don't know, having to shapeshift all the time. But we'll see. So this, I read through these and I got to be honest, guys, this confuses me a lot. So with Hunter, your Tame Beast ability now works on adders as a companion pet. and deer musk. Your tame beast ability now works on deer as a companion pet. Like, does this just mean you can have like a zoo following you around? And like, what's the point? Is it just like an aesthetic thing? Um, or can you like tame a deer and then put it in a container and then it's a companion pet and you can sell it or something? Like, I'm just confused by this. It sounds cool, but I'm just confused by this. And also, if this is kind of the if this is the direction that some of the runes are going in for other slots, I'm okay with it. Like, I know we talked about how, like, oh my gosh, if you have 9 rune slots, like, how are they going to balance things? But if some of the rune slots are just for like these kind of flavor things or for fun, I'm way more on board for that. Cosmetic, like cat carrier you buy from Stormwind, I think. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at too. Um, Major minor glyph kind of vibe. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. It's like not they're not just adding tons and tons of crazy abilities, but some of it's just a little bit more like flavor stuff. Especially especially if there's like if it's like kind of difficult to get, right? Like say you do your like I'm using the hunter quest, the hunter bow quest as an example. So the hunter Rockdalar Lochdalar, whatever the staff is called, that quest for hunters is kind of like a rite of passage kind of thing for some hunter players. Um, and it allows you to get a really meaningful upgrade as well, like a bow and a staff. But I hope some of these runes at the higher levels are kind of meaningful, cool progression things that you can get, such as maybe having a little deer that runs around with you, where it's like you can tell someone's put in a lot of time to be able to do this, but it's not really like affecting gameplay per se. So to me, that's really cool. Um, yeah, we looked at the hunter stuff with aspect of the lion. That's their king's buff. Rogues getting cheat death seems crazy strong, but just have to see how things go. Um, Warrior with this gladiator stance, shield passive. My assumption is maybe this means like when you have a shield equipped, you gain a passive. Maybe it's like a little health regen or something like that. I think that would be kind of cool because warriors are kind of known for being really bad at like solo gameplay. You kind of need to have a healer with you, and if it was just like a very small like passive health thing or some kind of buff to at least let you regen a little bit outside of combat or when not getting hit, something like that would be cool. What's torrential downpour all about? I read that and I'm not really sure. So 115 to 135 damage every 2 seconds. This could be like an AoE. It could be a single targeted thing. It's just we don't have enough information yet about it. We'll have to wait and see. Sounds cool though. Um, let's see. That's all that stuff. Just so many different things. All these, all the world buff stuff we haven't talked about, but I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. We'll just quickly go through it. So it looks like there's a Black Fathoms buff that you can get. Um, so I'm not sure if this is at the end of the raid or in the beginning, whatever. I would assume it's probably at the end. Or I know there's like partway through, there's also there's some kind of buff you can get in Black Fathoms now with it, which is like some slight frost damage increase or something. But yeah, so it increases critical strike or critical chance for spells, melee, and range by 2%, 20 AP. This is probably all like scaling with level, is my assumption, but maybe not. And then increased movement speed by 20%, 120-minute duration. So very cool. It'll be interesting, or I'd be interested to see if this is a. I know they had talked about giving you a buff for the Ashenvale buff, where it's like you actually have it in your inventory, so you can use it when you want. I wonder how that will be with this. And then the Ashenvale one is just increases all damage and healing by 5% for 2 hours. I think also these ones would be interesting to, like, it'd be nice to see these buffs persist through death, just because a lot of buffing and world buffs in Classic right now is just so much of like, you don't use them outside of just or your raid content because you just don't want to lose it. But it'd be nice to be able to use this like when out farming for things, or just other times as well. Am I the only one who dislikes the idea of melee hunters? Don't understand why Blizz tries to make it a thing. I think it's a unique. I mean, that was kind of their original idea with the survival tree. Anyways, I just think it was really poorly done. So I think it fits with kind of the Classic idea. I personally don't have an issue with it, but I could see that. World PvP Ashenvale will be such a clusterfuck. No one will keep buffs for long. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of why I hope it's at least these ones. I hope these ones stay through death. I'd say these ones, I wouldn't mind as much if they, when you die, you lose them. I think to be honest, this stuff, like, and I don't know how this stuff's gonna work, but I think it'd be cool if you can take these buffs outside of these shrines and stuff, which I believe will be in Ashenvale. And I think this kind of gives some cool cross gameplay, because if you get this buff, let's say it's like a 2-hour buff, and you can go anywhere in the world with it. Well, hey, when I log in, I'm gonna go get my int buff on my druid, right? And so that means even if you don't plan to participate in the Ashenvale PvP, it allows people who are participating in the PvP in Ashenvale to be constantly interacting with people, and also gives them a reason to maybe be protecting these shrines or attacking these shrines. So I hope that that's kind of how it works. Wyvern Sting in combat with a 1-minute cooldown is crazy. Yeah, I think it's really, really strong. I believe it's only 6 seconds, a 6-second sting afterwards. Where was it? So I think the sleep was 30 seconds, I thought. Where am I? What am I? Where was it? Yeah, so actually they increased it. A stinging shot that puts the target to sleep. It used to be 12 for 30 seconds. And then, yeah, it does the sting over 6 seconds instead of over 12 seconds. Yeah, I'm thinking like Night Elf, just Night Elf Hunter seems like so crazy. Like being able to sit there stealthed, having huge burst potential outside, like when you leave stealth, having all these buffs to not only like combat with some of your talents, but your traps sounding like you don't have to be out of combat to trap, and then also your pets getting buffed possibly, or like scaling with your gear. I don't know. Hunters sound like they're going to be very, very strong, and I like it. So, guys, I'm telling you, this is the problem with all these changes. It's like you read one class and you're like, oh wow, that sounds actually really, really strong. I think I'm going to play a warlock, and then you see something else and you're like, oh my gosh, that sounds extremely broken. Like I'm going to play that class. I don't know. So far, they seem to be doing a good job enticing players to look at a lot of different classes. But yeah, these buffs, we looked at those. We looked at those buffs. We looked at the Librams and the idols and stuff. This is kind of what we led off with. This is definitely, this spot is my only concern right now with the game, honestly. Everything has been sounding great. My big single concern is with the rune slots being kind of thrown out willy-nilly and just having too many rune slots. I really hope that some of these rune slots are just like kind of what we saw with the hunter being able to tame a non-combat pet or something like that, where it's small, like a foot rune. I said this would be cool. Like, say you as a guild go into Molten Core and you're able to defeat Ragnaros, and then you're able to complete kind of this discovery for a rune that allows you to have like a trail of molten feet, like footprints behind you. Something like that I think would be really cool. It would signify like an accomplishment that you've done in the game. Um, but I'm scared that there are going to be too many like really broken abilities with these things. So I don't know. We'll have to see. This is again, like I said, my only concern, a thing that I'm a little bit worried with. I agree, but I want this. Oh, let's see. I didn't read. Yeah, I've got it narrowed down to Druid, Shaman, Hunter, Warrior. Yeah, exactly. Narrowed down, and then it's like half the classes. That's kind of how I feel, though, too. I mean, like, I'm doing Druid 100% just because that's a lot of what my content and my channels kind of become is Druid stuff, but also just because I love the class, and I think there's a lot of exciting things to come with Druid. But that being said, I still think, like, there's several other classes that I'm definitely going to have as alts. I love that we all feel that we want to try a different class. In my opinion, it means they're doing things right. Exactly. I think that's 100% true. With a level cap at 25, I think playing a bunch of different classes is possible even for a casual. Yeah, I think so. Depends on how hard it is to kind of get your hands on the runes. Um, but I think yeah, having alts it's going to be much more approachable to the average person to even consider re-rolling or having an alt. I think I can only roll one, maybe two classes. Yeah, I mean, with the way I like to play, and dedicate a lot of time to one character, I think I still probably will be only focused on one or two characters for the most part. Especially like we have to see how long the grind is for like you know, Ashenvale reputation and things like that. Probably best to try many classes instead of super tryharding like 225 engineering and etc. The one thing I will say though is like I know people like the way a class will play at level 25, you might not necessarily get the best idea of it of if it's like the class for you, you know? Like some classes just will get a lot stronger with different abilities, but we'll see. BIS for all classers or casters at least is X of the Boots of Nature, etc. Yeah, it will be a decent part of 25, but a lot of players will still want like stats on their gear as well. Am I gonna make a 29 twink? You think the BFD raid gear will make 29 twinks fun? Yeah, I mean, I would love to do that. I guess we'll just kind of see the future of the server, because like for example on era servers, like no one really twinks. Um, I had some twinks back in the day on Faralina. That was fun. I had a 29 mage that I do flag running with, which was Ellie. Yeah, Ellie looks really good. I think the cool thing about Ellie too is you can, with the runes, you're able to take a really defensive playstyle, or you're able to go like super crazy aggro with different things. Like for example, you could go Overload, which is going to help with your damage a lot, or you could go Shield Mastery, reduce some of that incoming damage and stuff. Same thing with like Ancestral Guidance or Shamanistic Rage, even Way of the Earth. Are we going to see Eben 5 Phase 1 SOD? Yes, of course. We'll definitely have to record all of our PvP and kind of put together a big list of stuff. I mean, that's how my channel got started, was having fun making PvP videos. Recently I spent a long time making a shaman PvP video on the channel, like a week or two ago. Level 25 cap means everyone will be a 25 twink. Rip Red Ridge Mountains on PvP servers. Yeah, but I think there'll be so much PvP happening in other zones that I don't even know if people are going to go to Red Ridge Mountains. Like, for example, Hillsbrad Foothills will be crazy. You have even Stone Talon Mountains right next to Ashenvale that probably will have a lot of people in it. I think there's going to be a lot of zones that have a lot of PvP happening. Love the LE PvP video. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Is a tank rune worth it? Earth shock melee range, so you can't interrupt well with it. True. You'd have to change up your playstyle a little bit, but the thing that's nice about it is, although Earth shock is now melee range, you also can use your other shocks off cooldown of Earth shock. So it'll be interesting too. Like, I don't know if someone will come up with like an add-on to track things, or for people to figure out quickly, like in combat, what someone has. But for example, if right now, if I cross shock someone, they know that my Earth shock's not, or my Earth shock's on cooldown, and so they'll feel free to like cast. But with a lot of these different runes, it's going to be hard to kind of assess in combat quickly, like what runes a player is playing with and what to like watch out for, right? So if you attack a hunter, you're gonna have to try and figure out pretty quick, like, oh, is this a melee hunter? Should I like try and kite him, or is this a hunter that we're used to, in the sense of he's gonna have some big range damage, so I should try and get close to him. So I think there's gonna be a lot of like interesting gameplay early on with you trying to suss out like what spec someone is, like how they're playing and all that sort of stuff. Hey Zakipu, yeah, so my suggestion would be to just go to Wowhead, and on Wowhead they just have, we can even check because there's been a lot of stuff coming out. Everything's, yeah, so I would just go on the classic news and check out that. I'm gonna shut off the stream here in a few minutes, but probably another good place to check is the subreddit for classic WoW. People probably posted in that. We also got like a leak like this. Thank you to oh no, I shouted him out like several times, so I can't, but I'm now drawing a blank. Who was it? Nick Berry. Yeah, thanks Nick Berry for letting us know about this. So they, looks like they're gonna add some sort of like PvP resilience type items in the game. Anyways, in general, just some crazy news, guys. I don't know. This stuff is really big. And I'm really glad I saw all this stuff. It's funny, I was making a video on like farming locations and places to look for like gold making opportunities at 25, and I'm glad I didn't put that out, because there's a lot of stuff also for professions that are being leaked too. So lots of exciting things to look at. 1v1 dueling tournament is going to be so wild, changing runes before each duel to counter each other. Yeah, I know. That's why I feel like a lot of these changes, I honestly think they looked at like the classic dueling tournaments that they've had in the past or the Mockcross stuff, because that got huge eyeballs. Like, you got to think how many people watched. Like, it was like 300,000 people watched that. How many of those people went out and signed up for, got a subscription and started playing? uh like, if they can help to foster those community events and stuff like that, it's just like good for the game in general. So I see a lot of the changes that they're making are kind of in line with making kind of PvP a little bit more exciting, but also making it accessible and like easy to understand from like a viewer and also from just like a average player. Am I West Coast or East Coast? I'm West Coast. I live in Idaho. Will be fun to stake out the tunnel from Ashenvale to Stone Talon. Yeah, I was thinking that too. That's a good spot. When the new phase hits and everyone is leveling in the same zone from 25 to 40, it'll be constant zone warfare. I agree and disagree. I think that it possibly could be really chaotic with PvP, but then also so many people are like, like level that I could see a lot of people just like, one, going into dungeons and spamming them to level fast, especially like you're going to have the raid gear from level 25. So many people are going to just like jump into like Scarlet Monastery or like even like Razor Fen Crawl or something like that, and they're just going to try and like speed clear them for fast XP. And I could also see people just like out in the world who are questing just like completely turn away from PvPing and are just so focused on questing that they're not going to bother anyone. But I'll have to see. There's probably be a meta where you can assume what runes, for example, an Ellie Shaman might have, but you can't catch, or but you can catch people off guard with a meme build per se. Yeah, I know. That's what's going to be super fun about all this stuff. Dueling tournament is going to be so wild. Oh, I read that one. Yeah, yeah. Never tanked before, but I want to try it out for Season of Discovery. Do you think Shaman tanking will as be a good first tank spec to try? I mean, seems like it. It doesn't seem like overly complex. Um, I think the main thing that's the good thing about Shaman and Classic, and again, all the like, there's so many changes that we'll have to wait and see on some stuff. But the good thing about Shaman in Classic is it's not that hard of a class to kind of jump into and play fairly well. The main thing that sets Shamans apart is like totem management and like knowing what totems to use and when. But beyond that, like just jumping into a Shaman, I think it's a fairly good class to pick up and have a decent time with. The hype is so high. I just want to go into a coma and wake up with a release date. Yeah, I know. I mean, like half of the reason I do the stream is just so that I can like unload my hype on someone, That's why I like chatting with you guys, because I kind of think about a lot of new things from things that you guys mention. And also it's just a nice way for me to kind of hype dump on someone, Because it's like with my wife, she like plays WoW every once in a while, and I'll talk to her about like the changes and everything, and she's like, uh-huh, yeah. She's like, well, I mean, it'll be fun to see what happens and on the 30th, blah blah. But she's not one of those people that really gets hyped up for games. Feel that I'm so hyped too. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. I kind of talked about this the other stream, but it's like normally getting hyped for classic stuff is like watching old content, like watching old PvP videos, or looking up like BIS lists or whatever. But with everything now, it's just like so much is unknown that it's just the hype is hard to handle, because it's actually for the first time for like classic fans. It's like truly new content that we don't really know what to expect. So that's what's really exciting to me. I've heard in interviews that the warrior and bear will still have better all-arounders while others more niche. See, and that's kind of what I was looking at too, is you have like warrior and bear that they still are going to want to they're still going to want to have tanks stand out. So I see rogues as being really, really good tanks against, like, that need to have mitigation against like melee damage, like physical damage. And I see shamans being a little bit better at tanking against bosses that have spell damage, just because shamans have, like, for example, shamans have this talent, elemental warding, which reduces fire, frost, and nature effects. And then they also have Way of Earth, which, if we read the tooltip, it says reduce damage. It doesn't say reduce physical damage, it just says reduce damage. So that would be damage across the board. And then, like, we look at rogue tanks and it's all about dodging and parrying, but you can't parry a lightning bolt, right? So unless they give rogues a lot more spell mitigation later on in the levels, I think we kind of can start to see that tanks will kind of have their own niche, which I like. Am I LDS? No, I'm not. It's going to be tough choosing professions. Do I go for blacksmithing to craft the epic gear, or go alchemy to be able to craft and sell consumables? I personally would look probably at going alchemy lore, just and the reason, like, I kind of explained that, the reason is it's kind of like enchanting in the game right now, right? Some enchanters on your server will make tons and tons of gold, and other enchanters will make almost nothing. Enchanting is one of those professions that you have to kind of like attempt to make gold with. You have to like advertise, or you have to be looking at trade chat, and you also need to have access to those really good recipes via raids. My assumption with these crafted pieces is that you will learn these recipes after, maybe they'll drop in the raid or something like that. So I don't think every leather worker will have these. I'd assume that since they kind of want to keep things in line with classic, that you're almost having to look for a leather worker that was lucky enough to get these patterns. So I think blacksmithing could make someone a lot of money. However, you have to be a blacksmith that was lucky enough to either win this recipe in a raid or unlock it via, a reputation grind or something like that. So to me, alchemy would be a better just like passive moneymaker thing with the auction house, and blacksmithing would be something you're having to actively try and make money with. Binds one picked up. Very good point. I didn't even look at that. That changes things big time, guys. Yeah, so I guess you're like looking at doing these specifically for these pieces of gear, which kind of makes sense. Pushes people away from just getting engineering, right? Actual reason to be something other than engineering could change. Yeah, I agree. After reading that, that's really smart. That's cool. And this, I was talking about this earlier, I really feel like this elixir is probably going to be required to do some of the runes, or maybe even to progress in the raid. Wouldn't it be cool if you do the raid the first, like, say you guys speed run to 25, like you and your guild, you jump in the raid and you clear, let's say there's 7 bosses in the raid, and you clear the first 5, and then you realize some mechanic to get to the next boss requires your raid to all ingest this potion. So then you have to go out and do other things. I like that kind of stuff in the game. I know it's kind of a pain, but that's kind of what classic WoW is. So seeing this attached to something would be kind of cool. Although reading that tooltip gives strong Dragonflight vibes, looks like the Dragonflight crafted unique equipped themes or items. Interesting. Yeah, I haven't played Dragonflight, but the unique equip thing to me just looks like they didn't want someone to go blacksmithing and leatherworking and benefit too much from two things. That's just kind of how I see it so far. Yeah, I mean, it looks like we kind of are up to date on all the updates. I tried to stream earlier today, guys, because I actually wanted to do PvP on my shaman. I got a two-handed weapon from Nax, and I wanted to go do some enhanced stuff. But my internet was just shitting the bed. So I called my ISP. We worked through it. The lady was really helpful on the phone. We worked through it, and we realized my router actually needed a firmware update. So I was able to get that updated and finally get on to stream because all this news was coming out and I was like, oh my god, this is the one time like I really want to be able to stream, and I wasn't being able to because of that issue. So got that issue solved. It's late here, so I'm going to get off so I can go make some dinner and everything. But it was great talking to you guys. I will be back on tomorrow. I also have a video I'm working on, but I'll be back on to live stream, chat with you guys, and do a little PvP tomorrow. But yeah, guys, as always, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chatting. Hope you guys are as excited with all this as I am. I'm going to go eat some food and sit down and just read the classic WoW subreddit and stuff and kind of just nerd out with all this stuff. So see you guys later, and yeah, see you tomorrow.